here at Cal High. As Ms. Youngberg let you know, we are going to be recording this and we are going to have this posted on the Cal High Counseling website. I am joined by two other counselors this evening, Ms. Youngberg, who you just heard from, and Ms. Abogado, who is going to be monitoring the chat. If Just a couple quick housekeeping things before we get started. If you do have a question, I do suggest that you have a pen and paper handy and jot your question down, because there's a good chance that the question will be answered throughout the course of the presentation this evening. And if you need more clarification, or if for some reason it wasn't answered in the presentation, go ahead and throw it in the chat there, and we will do our best to get to as many of the questions as we can. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get going here. All right. Sorry, I was on the wrong slide there. But we want to talk about the road ahead for the class of 24 and 25. Thank you all for joining us. We want to start off with just some points about what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about what classes do students need to take? Are they on track to graduate? What do they need to take to be competitive for college admission? And how do you make sure that your schedule isn't too overwhelming? And how do you request the courses that you want? For those students who are on here, remember we came into your classes over the last week and a half or so to give you your course selection sheets. I hope you all still have them. If you need an extra one, stop by the counseling office. We do have extra copies for you. And we want to make sure that everybody knows who their counselor is. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen there, the breakdown of counselor by last name. So just take a quick second, see where you fall in the alphabet and who your corresponding counselor is. And I'll just highlight the additional staff that we also have who help support all of our students. We do have Ms. Patty Mullins, who is our student support counselor, and she works with our entire student population based on social emotional need. And we also have our Wellness Center coordinator, Ms. Goldenberg, who is fantastic at providing a space for our students when they need a mental break to reset, to kind of give their brain a rest so they can get back to a space where they can continue learning in their classrooms. And students, you are always encouraged to meet with your counselor first before requesting a parent meeting. We do our best as counselors to keep our schedules open for you during the school day. And you can email us if you need an appointment that is not at brunch or lunch. And we try to keep our parent meetings to before and after school. And so some helpful resources that we have here. We have Mrs. Nichols in the College and Career Center. She is such a huge asset to our department. It's in the counseling office, and she is the one who helps coordinate all the college rep visits, all the career exploration assessments and testing that we do, things like the ASVAB. She helps coordinate our AP testing, the SAT testing, the PSAT testing, the military information we have. She has a job board with some internship opportunities from time to time. She helps, in addition, with Mrs. Placati, our department secretary, to get the work permits processed. And she has information on summer programs. So she is an absolute wealth of information. And I encourage you guys to stop by and see her if you have any questions regarding any of those things. I believe she's scheduled close to 200 college visits this year already, and they're still coming in. And then just to re-highlight the Wellness Center with Mrs. Goldenberg, it is available during the school day. There are some exceptions because there are some groups who meet in there and use the space at regularly scheduled times. Ms. Goldenberg is very good about communicating the schedule of the Wellness Center. So check the Schoology group. And it is available for students who need to take a break, do a little bit of meditation, just kind of do something with their hands if they need, to work with a fidget or color or get some tea or some water, if they need to speak briefly with a counselor, or if they want to practice a coping strategy to help reduce some stress or anxiety they're feeling. And then also we want to make sure that everybody knows that we have tutoring for all subjects here on campus through our academic leadership class. And students, if you speak with your teacher in the class that you need tutoring on, they can help coordinate that. and it's usually during first and second period. And they can set up a time for you to meet one-on-one with a tutor in the area that you're experiencing some challenges in. And so we're talking a lot about our 10th and 11th graders for next year, which is you guys, the current freshman and sophomore class. So this is a couple samples of what a schedule might look like for next year. The two courses that you are absolutely required to take for your sophomore year are English and World History. A math course, while we encourage it to take, we want to make sure that you get those 2 years of math out of the way for high school graduation. And we will be talking about the difference between high school graduation requirements and college entrance requirements in just a couple of minutes. So English, world history, and math are going to be your required courses. And as you can see on here, we also recommend that you continue on your world language pathway if you have started that. And you also have a couple of honors and AP courses that are going to start opening up to you as 10th graders. And I just wanted to show a sample of what a student transcript would look like. If you are currently a 10th grader, at this point in your high school career, you should see about 90 credits on your transcript at this point. If you are a current 9th grader, you should have about 30 credits at this point. If you're on track as a sophomore, at the end of your sophomore year, you should see about 120 credits on your transcript. And you're going to see that number earned right here. As you can see, this is a second semester sophomore's transcript right here. So it says they have earned 90 credits, looking to get to 220 credits, which is the graduation requirement. So let's see. So yeah, 60 units by the end of your 9th grade year. And so let's talk for our sophomore class rising to the 11th grade for next year. These are a couple examples of what your schedule could look like next year. And the required courses for you as 11th graders are going to be English 11 and U.S. history, some form of U.S. history, some form of English 11. You can continue on your math pathway. We encourage you to continue on your world language pathway, so you're getting to meet those college entrance requirements. But you're going to have some more choices as 11th graders for what you want to pursue. Some of the other electives, like if you want to venture into the computer science realm or the computer graphic arts, or some more of the performing arts categories or the computer arts. So a lot of things are going to be available to you. Or if you want to take our biomed pathway. So there's a whole bunch of choices for you. And then a good thing to ask yourself every year is, am I meeting all the requirements to both graduate high school and apply for college if that's my after high school goal? So check your transcript. Transcripts available in Infinite Campus under the tab labeled reports. As we said, sophomores at this point should have about 90 credits on your transcript. Freshmen should have earned about 30 credits. And most of these are subject-specific requirements at this point in high school. You probably haven't started fulfilling a bunch of your elective credits yet, but you will. And just remember, those elective credits, anything over the graduation requirement that you earn, we're going to put towards your electives towards graduation. So most of our students take more than 2 years of math in high school. Anything beyond those 2 years for high school graduation purposes, we're going to put those towards your electives. And that goes for every subject. If you are below 90 credits as a sophomore or 30 credits as a freshman, we do have some remediation options that you can take advantage of. And we'll discuss those during your individual meetings with your counselor that we'll be having over the next month and a half. And then remember, the graduation requirements are different than the college entrance requirements. And so let's go over those right here. So these are what the state of California says are the requirements in order to graduate high school and get a California high school diploma. So English, you have to take 4 years, all 4 years to get 40 credits. History, you are required to take 35 credits or 3.5 years. And this starts in your freshman year with World Geo, continues on with World History your sophomore year, U.S. History your junior year, and then Government and Economics your senior year. Math, you are required to take 20 credits, and the lowest, highest, but not the highest, the level that you are required to pass according to the state is Algebra 1. Again, these are different than the college entrance requirements, and I'm going to go over the different ones in just a moment. PE, the state says you have to complete 2 years. Health, you are required 1 semester. So we usually schedule that during your ninth grade year. So all of our freshmen on this call, you either should have completed it first semester or you're taking it right now. Now, what we call your breadth requirement, which is fine art, world language, and vocational art, 10 credits each in 2 of those 3 categories to graduate high school. So let's say you're wanting to, apply for college after high school. So we would recommend that you complete the fine art, at least 1 year there, and then your world language requirement. And that would be those 2 out of those 3 categories that you have finished. And the electives, 60 credits total. And as it says there, the electives include any course taken above and beyond the requirements from any subject area. We get lots of questions about that. We know it's a little bit confusing, but just remember, anything you take beyond the high school graduation requirement is going to be put towards your electives. And so the total down here, as you see, 220 credits for graduation. And then the 40 outside institution credits, I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute. Now, the A through G requirements. These are for University of California and Cal State systems. The English requirement is the same, 4 years. The history requirement is 2 years. So that includes your world history, your U.S. history, your government, those kinds of things. So with your normally scheduled classes, you will fulfill that 2-year history requirement. Math, they require 3 years. Algebra 1, geometry, and algebra 2. So if you completed any of those before you got to high school, you're in great shape. You still have to take at least 2 years of math in high school, but they want to see you complete up through algebra 2 in order to meet their entrance requirements. And they do like to see you take math through, they do like to see you take math your senior year. PE and health, they're not concerned with, so they're not required for entrance. Oh, I skipped over science, my apologies. For science, 2 years, 1 biological science or life science, and 1 year of physical science. And our offerings there would be chemistry or physics on Cal High's campus. Fine arts, 1 year of fine arts will fulfill that requirement. World language, 2 years of the same language. So the languages that we offer on campus are Spanish, French, and Mandarin. So it's got to be of the same language. And they do recommend 3 years of the same language. Vocational art is not required, but they do require a college prep elective. And that can be just about anything. And that can be anything that is over and above these other entrance requirements we can use as your college prep elective. Now, the seventh class option. Again, this is optional for rising 10th graders. You can request to enroll in a B period class, but only if it's part of a larger academic program, such as academic studies, journalism, leadership. You see them all listed there: the biomed pathway, engineering, yearbook, music, any of the performing groups. Any class in their schedule can come with a B period, may become the B period, but it's just whatever is offered that period. So we have several students who are taking their English class as their B period because some of the performing arts groups are only offered other periods during the day. I hope that makes sense. And then for 11th graders, you are not required, remember, to take a 7th course. Most students who take a seventh course are a part of one of those 3 or 4 year programs that was listed on the previous slide, or they could be behind in credits and need to play a little bit of catch up. So given the number of credits that we have that are required to graduate from Cal High, which is 220, our students are able to complete all their necessary subjects and all their necessary credits without ever needing to take a 7th class. They can fit it all in a 6-period day. So now let's talk about non-district courses. I know there are a couple questions in the chat about this already. So students may choose to take classes off campus through a non-district course provider. They are optional. They are not at all in any way, shape, or form required for graduation from Cal High or any school in the district. If you do choose to take a course outside of the district, families are, the burden is on the families to research the institution, look at the instructions, complete all of the steps necessary, and you can find the pathway to find the district's guidelines there Go to the district's homepage, parents, personalized learning, and non-district courses. You can take up to 4 courses throughout high school, and no more than 2 courses in 1 year, and no more than 2 courses in any one subject area. So this note here, we have a form if you are taking a course over the summer to advance. So let's say you're finishing 9th grade, you've completed Algebra 1, you want to take geometry over the summer so you can take Algebra 2 in the fall. There is a form called the non-district course intent form that you need to fill out on this non-district course page. Okay, what that does is that triggers us to save you a spot in Algebra 2. If you do not do that, we are still going to schedule you for geometry because we don't know that you're taking geometry over the summer. And we want you to have the spot. We don't want you to have to sit in a course that you've already gotten the learning from. So keep that in mind. We need that form filled out for any advancement that you do over the summer. And in order to get those courses on the Cal High transcript, you must follow all directions from the registrar to have it put on your transcript. And directions to have it put on your transcript are on the Cal High website under the registrar's page. And with that, I'm going to give Ms. Abogado a chance to catch up on the questions, and then Ms. Youngberg is going to talk about some college myths that we very, very regularly hear in the counseling office.
All right. So we did get through a fair amount of our Q&As. I did want to allow us to answer some of the questions live, one of which is a little bit more information regarding the independent study PE. Ms. Youngberg, would you be able to speak to that?
Sure. So yes, we do offer independent study PE in our district for students in grades 10th through 12th. There is certain things that have to be met. It does have to be an individual sport. So team sports are not permitted, and it must be competitive. So you should have, a schedule where you are competing and are able to provide that. In addition, your instructor or your coach does need to carry some liability insurance and needs to provide that. So if you do have other questions, it is also on that personalized learning page where you can take a look at it. It is under personalized learning where you could find it on the district website, and it does say physical education where you can see how it works. The application for independent study PE is set to come out on March 1st, and it will be posted on that website. And I believe it will be due the end of the month of March.
All right, thank you. And I believe most of our other course questions were answered live, and we do have some questions that are going to be covered in the next section as well. So please stay tuned. We are answering some of your questions throughout this presentation. And we do have some very, very specific questions coming through. We do have our one-on-ones with our students. And so for any questions that are very, very case specific, we won't necessarily be able to answer all of those in the Q&A box, but we do have those sessions coming up with your students. And so if you want to send them with some of your questions when they come to meet us, then we'd be happy to do so. I'll be getting through the rest of the Q&A questions as we go along, but I will pass the mic to Ms. Youngberg.
All right. Yeah. And I was taking a look at some of these, some of the questions in the Q&A, and we are going to be covering a lot of them. So I know it's hard and I know we're anxious, but if you can be patient, hopefully we will be able to answer those questions as we get through our slides. I know I don't want to scare any parents or scare anyone that we're talking about college, because it's not what this is necessarily about, but we do know that a lot of students ask us questions about this. And as they're planning their 4-year plan and trying to figure out what they need to take in their sophomore, junior year, they are asking because they have future goals of attending college, which is wonderful. But we also hear a lot of myths that are out there. So we just want to make sure that, one, we want to kind of calm your nerves down about college and just kind of provide a realistic kind of overview of the things that we're hearing and hopefully dispel a few myths there. Okay. one of the major myths that we do hear often is that it takes all A's to get into a good college. Now, I know that we are surrounded by a lot of very, prestigious schools that are pretty challenging to get into. But the reality of it is that the college acceptance rate in the US is 68%. That's the average. Okay. Now, obviously, we do have some of those colleges that are very, have a very small acceptance rate, but more than half of all the US colleges and universities report rates of 67% and higher. One thing also to keep in mind that there are a lot of schools, they may have a higher acceptance rate. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are inferior compared to those with a lower acceptance rate. Okay, many of these institutions simply have less stringent admission requirements or even larger campuses where they can accommodate more freshmen each year. Whereas you might see some of these private schools or some of these other selective schools who only have a very limited amount that they are able to admit each year. All right, another one that we always get is the harder a college is to get into, the better it is. No, not necessarily. One thing that hopefully all of you guys can see here is that there are definitely options. I know these ones are out of state. And a lot of kids are looking to stay in California, but we do encourage students to, during this exploration process, to just have an open mind and to consider what else is out there. Just for example, a lot of the colleges that we may not even consider, University of Washington, top 10 in artificial intelligence, which is a very up and coming major that a lot of students are interested in, top 5 in computer science for a public university, and have over a 50% acceptance rate. Indiana University, top 10 in business, very high acceptance rate. U of A, top 5 for computer and information technology, management information systems, 87% acceptance rate. Boise State, highly ranked in their nursing program, 83% acceptance rate. And, these are all great universities. Yes, they are bigger. They are a little more away from home, but, just wanted to kind of put that out there because I think that a lot of students worry because they see the statistic for certain schools, but here's the reality of a lot of them too. All right, good schools are well known and have low acceptance rates. This is just kind of continuing on from the previous slide. One that we became familiar with, or one that most of us may be familiar with, is Menlo College, which is located on the peninsula. One thing that they really do kind of shine is where students are employed after graduation. They have a pretty high percentage rate of those students who do find employment 6 months after graduation. They have a fairly high acceptance rate. I know that they are a private school, which I know sometimes scares us because of the price. However, 99% of students receive some sort of financial aid, and they do have a big endowment, so something to consider there. Their business program is recognized as best in the West from Princeton Review. Couple of other colleges just to kind of highlight: University of Nevada, Reno, highly ranked school of journalism, strong engineering program, 80% acceptance rate. Arizona State, ranked #1 in innovation, highly ranked engineering program, 88% acceptance rate. So as you can see, one thing that we wanted to point out to kids is that there's lots of colleges, over 2,000 colleges in the country. And if you're open to exploring all of them and seeing what's out there, we have no doubt that you'd be able to find the right fit for you, if that's what you're looking for. All right, so this is a question that I know is kind of coming up a lot in the Q&A, and we probably get a good amount of questions about this as counselors, and that is having to take outside classes in summer advancement, or else they feel like they're behind. The bottom line is that there isn't a perfect formula. There isn't a perfect recipe that says you need to take this many outside courses or you need to take this many APs. That just isn't the case. We have a few comments here that you can read on your own that we heard from the admissions offices of Georgia Tech, NYU, and Stanford. I think that a huge part of it is also considering, taking outside courses that we already offer in our high school. especially a lot of universities are saying that, they want to see that you've exhausted, what you have to offer at the school. And sometimes they do kind of wonder, say, for example, you decide to take chemistry off outside, and we offer 3 levels of chemistry. Like, we offer chemistry, we offer honors, and we also offer AP. And sometimes it could raise that red flag of like, I wonder why that choice was made. And so be aware that oftentimes colleges are looking at that. We know that there are so many online options and outside institutions and community colleges that are out there. We know a lot of kids do feel that pressure that if they aren't taking a class over the summer, they're falling behind. But we just want to be very clear, that students have access and time in their schedule to take all the classes they need to be able to get into a great college. Okay. One thing that I really highlight, and it made a lot of sense to me when a couple of our college reps talked with us, was that colleges are not interested in professional students. They're able to see how you do throughout the school year in your classes. But where it does make a difference is that, over the summer, we don't need to know how great you are in the classroom. They want to see the types of activities you participate in that are outside of the classroom, things that interest you, whether that be a part-time job, a sport, an art, something of that sort that you are pursuing. It doesn't necessarily have to be academic either, okay? But the idea of trying to boost that or pad that resume by taking an additional class isn't necessarily what they're looking for. If we offer a class, like I mentioned already, a college would much rather see you take it here, not online or at a community college. And just keep in mind, I know a lot of kids who do choose to advance, and for some kids, for certain subjects, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, but we do ask you to just be thoughtful with it. Make sure that you are prepared for the next level if you are deciding to advance in a certain subject, especially in math, and especially if you plan to return to Cal High and take that next level. Okay. All right. Another big thing that we always get is kids are always like, oh my gosh, I need to be involved in so many clubs and all the extracurriculars and everything. The one thing that I want to emphasize is that colleges value depth over breadth. And what that means is that they would much rather see you committed to a couple of things that you really are passionate about, or that you enjoy, or you're exploring certain interests in a couple of areas, rather than kind of signing up for every club at the club fair and kind of seeing how making the list longer. It's not necessarily about quantity, it's more about quality. Okay. And like I said, not all of them have to be academically focused. So extracurricular activities are wonderful, but there's so many different ways to do that. And I think that, especially for our students who are involved in our arts program, such as band or art or music or theater, sometimes we do get a lot of students who are like, oh, I think I might have to drop, music so that I can take another AP class. And I want to emphasize how wonderful it is to be able to show a commitment to the arts. And so definitely, keep that in mind. We want to make sure that students are not feeling like they need to, do so many overly academic things outside of the classroom. All right, so I am going to jump straight into, now that we kind of talked a little bit about that, and John Sawyer kind of went over the course selection and the process for choosing your classes. Now kind of comes a lot of the housekeeping stuff, okay? So the Infinite Campus Portal, this should not be new to anyone. We've been doing this for many years for students. The Infinite Campus Portal is going to open on March 1st. And will be open through March 10th. So students will have 10 days to kind of take a look at classes, sign up and request the classes that they would like. Please keep in mind that you don't have to be sitting there waiting for, on the portal first thing, March 1st at midnight. And as long as you sign up anytime between March 1st and March 10th, you will absolutely have priority. It doesn't matter Okay, just make sure that you're not signing up late. All right, so just as I mentioned before, super important to enter your course selections before the window closes. Make sure that you are also kind of talking with your parent or guardian about the classes that you've chosen. The idea is that once you do choose your classes on Infinite Campus, we're going to want you to print out that summary page. And we would like you to have your parent or guardian sign off on that. And that is the form that will be turned into counseling. All right, so the window closes on March 10th, and those course summary pages are to be signed and returned to counseling by Monday, March 13th. Okay, so any late submissions, or if students, forget to do it, they're like, oh, I'm not worried about it. It can hurt in a way of students potentially losing priority for certain electives or upper level courses. We are a pretty big high school and pretty impacted in a lot of our subject areas. So often we are filling those classes to the brim. So make sure that you're signing up for what you would like to take, and we will do the best we can. All right, so for AP and honors courses, for students that are signing up for that who haven't done it before, uh, we will have an AP honors contract that we will be sharing with our students later on that will be required to be signed off by the student and the parent. Usually it should be a Google form this year. And we ask that you guys read it over carefully and sign off on it electronically. Also, for students who are taking more than one AP course, we really are strongly recommending that students complete the time management worksheet, which we will also send out as well, so that they can just kind of make sure that they're managing their time efficiently and not doing too much. All right. One thing that I always kind of get students is making sure that they choose alternate choices for their electives and any of the upper level science and social studies classes. Like we mentioned, some of our courses that we do offer, such as our electives in certain areas, we may not offer them every period. So that could be a situation where we may only offer it once or twice a day. And that means that it might conflict with another course that a student has to take. So with that, we'd like you to choose an alternate. If there isn't one on there, and for whatever reason, say we find out that we are not running a certain class and you didn't put an alternate, then we do our best to to make contact with you, but sometimes we can't. And if there isn't an alternate, sometimes we have to choose for you based on what's available. All right, so counselor meetings. I think, a lot of students have been wonderful as far as coming in during our drop-in hours and asking questions, which is great, and wanting to kind of just get some clarification on things. And when we went into the classrooms the past couple of weeks, a lot of students had great questions. So that was so nice to be able to answer some of their questions that they have. We do meet with all of our students, and a lot of that it does happen after course selection. And we meet with them starting in mid-March, and it usually lasts pretty much till the end of the year so that we can get caught up and meet with all of our students. We do make sure that they are on track for graduation. We talk to them about their future goals. We look over their classes to make sure that they're appropriate. And we also, make any adjustments or changes. We know that they're teenagers, and we know that sometimes they're going to change their mind about things, and that's totally okay. We do allow students to make adjustments to their schedule up until basically the last day of school. Okay, after that last day, the change request made via email or voicemail. Unfortunately, we cannot be honored. As I said, we build our master schedule over the summer based on what students choose, and it is a pretty long and rigorous process. So getting those final requests in before you leave for your summer break is essential. All right. Couple of tips for you that I think, a lot of it seems like totally obvious, stating the obvious and common sense. But I think they're also very good reminders as you head into the next year. And I know a lot of kids get super excited about choosing their classes, but it's just very important that they make sure that they're creating a schedule that's balanced. that students are considering their extracurricular activities, your outside responsibilities when choosing courses. If you've got a part-time job, if you play two sports, if you're in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or you have other responsibilities, make sure that you're considering that when you're choosing your schedule for next year. Okay. Be thoughtful with your choices because, like I mentioned, we are a big high school. Sometimes we do fill those classes to the brim. Sometimes we are limited in the movement in the master schedule and flexibility in the schedule. So it can be difficult sometimes where I've had students who have said, oh, I'm just going to try, as many AP classes as I can. And then they realize that it's a little too much for them and they aren't able to commit the time that's necessary for those courses. And they ask us after we start the school year, maybe around the third week, and say, hey, I don't know, I don't think I want to be an AP Euro anymore. And I'd like to go back to go into world history. And sometimes we do our best to make sure that we can do that if there is space. The hard part is that for the past few years, we've had a difficult time finding space for kids that want to do that. So sometimes we are unable to accommodate that request. So super important, especially when you're picking those AP classes and honors classes, make sure that you're able to commit the time necessary for those courses, okay? Again, know the recommendations and expectations in your desired courses. I always tell students, talk to any of your friends who might be a grade above you about the courses that they're offering. Talk to your current teachers if you have some questions. Talk to your history teacher if you are interested in going into the next level of AP for history. Talk to your English teacher if you have questions about AP English language for the junior year. So make sure that you're reaching out to those teachers and just kind of asking them their thoughts and recommendations on it. All right, again, like I mentioned before, making those alternate choices carefully. Sometimes we do have to go to them. We always try to honor your first choices, but sometimes that's out of our control and we do have to go to your second choices. So make sure that you are willing to take a course that you put down as an alternate. All right, so filling out the provided high school and A to G plans, we do have a 4-year planner on our website. We did announce to current freshmen, that we were running workshops during tutorial that they could sign up for with counselors, and so that we can help with their 4-year planning. So it's during tutorial. They do have to sign up ahead of time. We sent that out to students via Schoology and to their school email. And I believe we do have 2 more coming up here on February 27th and the 28th, if they would like to sign up for a spot, so that they can, if they just kind of want to think things through, answer some questions, and just kind of make sure that they're getting everything in there that they need to, it'd be a great thing to sign up for that. For our current sophomores, we will be announcing workshops very soon for you guys. So be on the lookout for that on Schoology and on your email. We offer these workshops based on demand. So, oftentimes we may offer a couple, see how many sign up. If it's a huge demand, we will obviously continue to add more. All right. Another tip is to be prepared with the questions during your counselor visit. I'm not going to lie, it's hectic because we visit with over 300 of our students. We're responsible for over 400 students, but since we don't meet with current seniors, we are meeting with well over 300 students individually. So we like those meetings to be efficient. We go through all of their information, but it's always helpful if you have those questions prepared. Talk with your parents or guardians and make sure that, even write down those questions. That's great too. All right. Let's see where we at. Okay, so a 7th class is never guaranteed. As we know, due to the number of impacted classes, sometimes we may not be able to offer it. There was a situation this year where there were several students who, of their 7 classes, one of them was not offered B period. We don't have a ton of offerings during that B period. So sometimes we do have some limitations with that, and we cannot always guarantee a 7th class for those that request it. All right. So in closing, I know that we talked a lot and had a lot of information. So in closing, it's important, one, to breathe. I'm kind of saying that for myself right now after talking so long about all this stuff. But just to kind of remember, like, perfection is not a college requirement. There is a college out there for everyone. I just feel like a lot of kids get anxious about that. Advancing through classes in the summer isn't necessary, and it's not required to be admitted into college. Talk to your counselor if you think that it makes sense for you, and make sure that, again, you're planning your time appropriately and you're managing all your other responsibilities okay. AP and honors courses are not required to be admitted into college. So choosing to take an AP honors course should not just be based on the fact that it's a weighted grade. We really encourage students to choose that course because they have a sincere interest in it. You may not know if you have a passion in it, but you want to explore it, and maybe you've done well in the past and you'd like to challenge yourself. Absolutely, we support that. But don't feel the need to take 4, 5, 6 AP classes. That's a lot. And I think that a lot of kids end up feeling pretty overwhelmed, not necessarily because it's too hard for them to handle, but mostly because the time commitment required for each of those courses makes it very hard for them to be able to, kind of commit everything that is necessary to do well in an AP honors course. Um, Again, just other tips there, just little things to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. I think that, we want to make sure that we're supporting our students. A lot of students come and talk to us when they are feeling overwhelmed or do have some concerns about classes or do want to just kind of get some guidance on, where they go next. So I think, like I said, just take a look at these little tips here and know that counselors are here to support you. All right. So with that said, I know that we have some questions that we may be answering live. So I am going to have Christine kind of go over those and let me know.
Sorry about that. I was finishing a thought in the Q&A. But we did have a few questions that I wanted to be able to provide a little bit more details for. And so I wanted to get those answered live. And we did have some like repetitive questions as well. So also look at the already answered questions in case your question might already be in there answered. But just regarding like some of our courses that may or may not be offered next school year, similarly to AP Physics, this last school year was offered on our course selection sheet, but then we didn't have a teacher. And so they just wanted to know what that might look like for next school year.
Okay. So I wish that I had a crystal ball and I could tell you exactly what next year is going to look like, but I don't have one. And I'll be totally honest with you, a lot of it is dependent on student requests. So a lot of it is based on what we see happen in March as far as what students would like to take. We see what students are signing up for. Obviously, just like you guys, we desperately wanted to be able to offer AP Physics this year. The teacher shortage is very real. It's also, we're not immune to that. And, we do hope to do everything we can as far as posting early when we're able to, going to job fair. We're doing everything that we can as a team and as a district to get the most qualified teachers to Cal High and to our district. So it's certainly something we hope to have, but sometimes if we can't find someone, that is the difficulty. So we cannot make any guarantees with that. Okay, so even if we do have students who request AP Physics and we have enough to offer a class, we will absolutely try and find a physics teacher who has the proper credential to offer it and teach it.
All right, thank you. And then we had a couple of questions regarding dual enrollment for like DVC or other community college courses. And so can you just speak to that real quick?
So just taking any sort of class there or being a part of College Connect?
Any course there, specifically also courses that might not be offered at Cal High.
Yeah. So, yeah, we do have a lot of students who are interested in taking courses at DVC or Las Positas or neighboring community colleges. The requirement is that students are required to take 5 classes with us on campus, in the seat, in classrooms for 5 periods. And then, certainly they're more than welcome if they would like to take that 6th class off campus. Keep in mind the rules remain the same as far as if you would like those credits to go onto the high school transcript. That does count against those 40 credits that are allowed. Also, those courses at DVC, please keep in mind, most of them are 3-unit classes that actually transfer over as 10 credits. So 1 semester class and like an abnormal psychology class for a semester at DVC would transfer over as 10 credits. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, there is a process to go through that. We do sign off on the forms electronically when students request for those courses. I would say that the summer catalog typically, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, for DVC comes out probably late April or mid-April, I would say. So you can take a look at the course catalog and see what offerings they do have over the summer. And we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions if your students have them.
Okay. And could you review the dates for the optional 4-year planning workshops that were being made available?
Well, for freshmen, we have already had one and it was great. And then we have 2 more coming up on the 27th and 28th. It is Monday and Tuesday. So we try to do it on an even day and an odd day to try and accommodate those students where it works better for them, 3rd or 4th period. It's during tutorial, and we just ask that they do sign up ahead of time. And they can do that through the Sign Up Genius that was sent to them via their email, or it was posted also on Schoology. We plan to announce sophomore planning workshops before the end of the week.
Okay, perfect. And for school clubs, do students need to be in a leadership role?
I'm assuming that this question is in regards to like being in a leadership role for college purposes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that, they like to see the depth of your involvement in these clubs and organizations. But that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be worth it if you're just a participant in the club. If you're interested in a club and you would like to do something, we encourage you to join it for sure. But also certainly having a position in a club and, having that commitment level to it certainly is a great thing. And colleges see that as a positive thing for sure. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, my puppy is complaining. So I apologize for the grumbles on this side. And then, Okay, so we're having a lot of questions regarding prerequisites, and they're all very, very like course specific. And so I'm not sure if you wanted to, I can link in there just the course catalog.
Yeah.
Might be a little easier to have those questions answered cohesively. So
yeah, we
that.
Yes, and most of our courses we have strong recommendations in order to take those courses. So those are outlined in our course catalog. And typically, for example, for courses that build on one another, say for world language as an example, obviously a C grade is required to be able to move on to that next level. However, if you're going into honors or AP, we do recommend that students have a strong A or very, very high B in their current Spanish 3 or French 3 or Mandarin 3 class. So those honors and AP levels, they're definitely rigorous, and we want to make sure that students are fully prepared for that. So we do strongly recommend that they have, a good A, high B.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a couple questions regarding summer school.
Okay.
And so I did want to reemphasize that summer school courses are specifically for remediation. But can you share what information we do have about summer school as of right now?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of information right now. The only thing that I think I did see that came across is that I believe, this is tentative, that it is going to be held at Doherty Valley High School. For
That's
the
correct.
summer. Okay, great. And as Christine said, it is based on remediation only. So if students earned a D or an F, they may sign up for summer school for that core class. We don't offer summer school for every subject. We do for the most part for our core classes, our college or high school graduation requirement courses such as math, English, history, and the first two levels of science like biology and chemistry. Again, that's all dependent on making sure that we have a full staff able to provide those courses over the summer. And usually each session is 3 weeks. And so usually the first semester corresponds with the first 3 weeks of the summer, and the next 3 weeks corresponds with the second semester. So maybe you need to remediate the second semester of Algebra 2, you would basically know that you would be probably in the session 2, which is offered later on in the summer. A few years ago, we did offer some other courses that were not for remediation, but that is just something we no longer offer in our district.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
John, did you see any other common threads in the Q&A that I'm missing?
No, I think a lot of it was about the AP, some of the remediation, and non-district core stuff, and I think we've hit most of those points.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking at it too. I don't know if some of these were answered. Athletic PE, let me kind of talk about that a little bit. So I did briefly talk about independent study PE. We've got independent study PE, which is where you play an independent sport individually, but it has nothing to do with Cal High. It's outside, and you can apply to take that course. It does take up one of your periods, so it's you cannot take 7 classes in addition to independent study PE. I want to make sure that I put that out there. For athletic PE, that is offered to our students starting in the 10th grade if they play a sport for Cal High. Okay, so one thing I do want to be clear on is that we don't automatically give credit just if you're on the roster. So if you are on the swim team, we don't necessarily give everyone PE credit on that. It is something you have to apply for, okay? Because we don't give that out every time. Students have to apply for that. There is you make the team. At the end, towards the end of the season, what you're going to do is you're going to complete the athletic PE form, which is located under our athletics page, and hopefully it is updated. If it is not, you can always get the most recent one from our athletic director, Mr. Ross. He can certainly provide one for you. And at the end of the season, we do require that you have your signature, your parent signature, and your coach's signature to verify that you've participated during the season. And one season of one sport will earn 10 credits. So that could potentially take care of your entire second year requirement for graduation. All right. There is the process to start a club at Cal High. That's wonderful. We do have it. Our leadership actually does manage that, our leadership program. And there is a process for it. And you can find that on our website. If you look under leadership, it will take you to clubs and how to kind of go through that process. But there is an application period in the early fall to do that. All right. Anything else, you guys, that you see? I know a lot of them are coming in now. They're like coming in pretty quick.
There were a couple questions regarding the PSATs for sophomores.
All right. For rising sophomores.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that it is something that we do offer for our rising 10th and 11th graders. Usually that is held in October and signups do start in, I believe, in early September. It's not required for students to take the PSAT. A lot of times students may consider doing it if they're, if they're looking into some out-of-state colleges or some private colleges. As you know, the UC and the CSU do not consider the SAT any longer, for eligibility for admission. But students have taken it in the 10th grade year. What we do say is that we would want you to be at maybe enrolled in Algebra 2, I would say, as a sophomore, just because of the math component that is on the PSAT. For those of you that are in geometry, there may be a lot of stuff on there that's going to be covered that you may not have seen yet. So obviously we do like students to have as much math and English under their belt before they take the official SAT.
Thank you. There were questions regarding marching band and color guard for the PE credits.
Okay, so yes, color guard does fall under our marching band also program for credit. And students who do participate in the marching band, each marching band season will earn them 5 credits towards PE. And that starts in the 10th grade year. So if they did marching band in the 9th grade year or color guard in the 9th grade year, unfortunately that doesn't count for PE. You're already enrolled in PE 9, but we can count that towards PE starting in the 10th grade year. If you wanted to do all of your credits by doing marching band or color guard, I'm sorry, you would have to be, you would have to participate both in 2 seasons, 2 fall seasons.
Alrighty.
All right. Can being on the cheer team give credit for PE? It absolutely should earn credit for PE. However, from what I am told is that if you're on the stunt team, and because I believe that you compete in the E-ball league, that is kind of how they determine what's eligible for athletic PE. And so my understanding is that if you're on stunt, yes, you do qualify for it, even though, I'll keep my personal opinion to myself, but I feel like all of cheer should be, considered for PE. Absolutely. All right. So the district course catalog is very general, lacks details to help a student make an informed decision. Can the syllabus be available? So as you know, we are preparing for next year. Sometimes, it depends on how teachers are assigned courses they're gonna be teaching. We do have the course offerings fair, which is tomorrow. Wait, I'm sorry. When is it? It's on Friday, right? Sorry. So we have the course offerings fair on Friday. We have an extended lunch for our students, and that's going to be a great opportunity for students to be able to ask those questions. Those tables, some of the classrooms are going to be open, so students can ask questions of the teachers. Sometimes the students might be covering those tables and they will be able to answer questions for students. But the course offerings fair is going to be pretty huge, and we're pretty excited about it. The teachers are excited about it. So definitely a good time this Friday to make sure that you're walking around and checking out all those programs and asking. I think that's the best way to kind of get some insight on the courses. All right.
Okay, you're at time.
Okay. A lot of great questions. Like I said, we are going to be meeting with your students individually. We do have drop-in times anytime if students would like to come in. We are not, pulling them out of class necessarily to talk about those questions because we don't want to interrupt the class time. But if students would like to stop by before school, during brunch, during lunch, we have drop-ins and they can absolutely ask those questions. Or they can also sign up for one of the workshops that we're going to be offering. So make sure they can sign up for one of that, and we can certainly get all their questions answered there as well that are a little more individual. All right. I think, like I said, we are recording this and we will get that up on our website as soon as possible. There are certain things here. Let's see, is there anything else that you can see? Computer science principles to count as a science. It is approved as a science course, yes. And depending on space and what it looks like for course signups, that will be dependent on if a student can choose a concurrent traditional science to take with it. So a lot of that is going to be dependent on space.
Can students email us?
Of course, please, yes.
Alrighty, well, that is all of our time for tonight. We want to thank you all so much for joining us and being prepared with the questions that you have asked, and for, being very, just joining us tonight and being, I'm running out of words today, but, being here for your student and students for showing up for, getting this information. And we will have more opportunities for you to ask your questions. We do have our emails available, and we do have our drop-in times. So counselors are available for students before school, during lunch, brunch, and after school. So feel free to come by, let us know who you are, and we'd love to get to know you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight. We appreciate partnering with you to help your students achieve the goals that they want.
All right. Well, on that note, good night, everybody.
All right, thank you, everyone.